To kick off this hour's in-depth segment, we are going to take a deeper look at President Trump's relationship with North Korea. A state-run newspaper in North Korea lashed out at Donald Trump this morning, specifically referencing his tweet about having a bigger nuclear button than leader Kim Jong-un. They call that tweet, and we quote, "spasm of a lunatic." They said, in part, the spasm of Trump in the new year reflects the desperate mental state of a loser who failed to check the vigorous advance of the army and the people of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, i.e. North Korea. He is making a bluff only to be diagnosed as a psychopath. Well, I wasn't aware that he had been talking about those things. I thought that was the fearless leader Kim Jong-un. Joining us now to break this down, U.S. retired Major General Paul Vallely. He is also chairman of Stand Up America. And joining him and Nan and I is retired CIA operations officer Scott Uehlinger. All right, guys. It was interesting yesterday. Well, it was over the weekend when we got the false alert in Hawaii. Jamie Lee Curtis issued out a crazy misdirected tweet about how all of this was the fault of President Trump. I don't believe that. But guys, the rhetoric is stepping up. Should we be concerned about the level of rhetoric, or should we just brush this off and pretend it didn't happen? So I'll start with the general in the crowd. Go ahead, General Vallely.
Well, I don't mind the rhetoric. We have what we call a gigantic psychological operation going on here between the two leaders. Who can psych out who, but that's the way it is. And President Trump's a master of that. So Kim Il-jung will come out on the short end on that deal. But rhetoric, this is what's going on. And but what's more important, that we're ready to counter any major threats from North Korea, as well as the forces in Japan and South Korea, and also the special operations forces that we have in South Korea. They're very, very good. So we're ready. If they're going to ramp things up, it'll probably be because Kim Il-jung will shoot a missile over Japan or hit Japan or Guam or do something like that. So it's the actions that we have to watch out for.
Scott, go ahead. Your chance to weigh in. Should we be concerned, or you
Right.
pretty general agree with the general?
I think I agree with the general, but I just want to say one thing about I have a certain grudging admiration for some of the North Korean propagandists. They seem to have a pretty good turn of phrase.
Spoken like a true CIA.
There's two in particular that I remember. One is they referred to Coca-Cola as the cesspool water of American capitalism. That's a good one. And then
they could do that in Seattle. They could use that up in Seattle.
Seattle tax that way, probably.
And one time they actually referred to Hillary Clinton as the venomous wife of a fishmonger.
Oh, they took that from the Republicans, Scott.
Right. So, the general's right. To some degree, as long as the war of words continues, I'm actually a little less concerned, because I guess on some level the parties are talking. Our actions do speak somewhat louder than our words. I mean, we've been having some major publicized Army maneuvers and special forces maneuvers in the United States as well. And that's good, because that not only does that enhance the readiness of our forces, but it also kind of sends a message to Kim. It's a diplomatic move that maybe gives some of our enemies pause. So as long as we're talking, I think it's looking okay.
General and Scott, question for you, apropos of what Scott just said. President Eisenhower was well known during the Cold War for holding ostentatious exercises, preparing the American public for possible nuclear war. Do you see some of what the administration's doing as that same kind of alerting, if you will, propaganda-wise to the North Koreans that, hey, you can't, we're ready for you?
Well, we've been conducting exercises, of course, over there since the 50s. I've participated in some of them in the 80s and 90s. But what we see now is a ramp up of those joint forces. When we bring the B-52s in, when we reposition a second fleet in that area, what we see is a ramp up of our capability. And that's a way psychologically of showing Kim Il-jung that we can deal from strength, and we will deal from strength, and that's good. better than dealing from weakness, I can tell you that.